we've had the opportunity to explore different types of creators of content. We've had chances to talk to different artists. Actually, that's how you came to be around here hanging out with us. We are on the verge of something amazing. And what we've decided to do as part of Delvin the Void is do a multi-part series looking at what does it take to take something that starts out as just a dream going on in the head and actually bring that to market. And how does that experience look? We did it with something that came out of, which is scary all into itself, something coming out of your skull that people actually want to buy. And that just makes me feel weird even saying those words. I just kind of want you to know that. It's nothing personal.
The team of 5Crests and I have spent a lot of time perfecting what we hope is a really good card game. And you know, during the interview, you'll get to hear a couple of the guys talk about their love for gaming in general, and specifically the love for creating something. There's a saying, be a creator or be a consumer. And we're taking that step into being a creator, and it's scary and interesting, and we're all stomachs and knots for Gen Con, and so we're really excited about it.
I think as we go through this experience, and we're following you through this experience in this kind of multi-part series, looking at first the interview that you're about to see is really about the beginning of that process, and as we go through, we're going to follow you guys all the way through to the point where you're taking it to the stage, and I think this is important because this is what keeps communities alive and vibrant. And I think you guys doing this in our community is just, it's amazing. So let's take a look at the interview that we did, and then from there, we'll swing right back.
My name is Mike. I work on keeping the story elements together, keeping the lore together, and trying to keep our world a cohesive place.
I'm Joe. I'm an Imaginator at TOI Creative. I'm responsible for game engine, balance changes, and card design.
Hi, I'm Nate. I'm also one of the Imaginators. I work on card design, game engine, and I also do webmaster work. I was raised on pen and paper, Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, not as long as possibly another guy down the road there. I definitely did pen and paper for a long time. Video games all my life. I mean, I'm a late millennial, early millennial, whatever that term is. I had a lot of the consoles, and it was big when I was younger, and doing that, and then card games a lot. So did like the Star Wars TCG way back in the day. Played Magic.
I was a geek way before being a geek was cool.
It's cool?
You know, apparently it's cool now. So.
Awesome.
I liked Magic. I liked World of Darkness, you know, pen and paper. Video games again, from, you know, birth till probably the day that I die, I'll still be playing video games. You know, it's just probably the natural progression. I mean, blogging 500 hours on Pokemon Blue as a youngster was a long, it's a pretty big achievement for me.
Redbox D&D, Marvel Superheroes, TSR, RPGs. My first computer game was Karateka on the Apple IIe. King's Quest IV, Perils of Rosella. I go way back.
Throw that cred out.
Right?
Right.
That's straight cred. That's not hipster, that's straight cred.
Straight cred.
But yeah, it's gaming has been a part of my life ever since I was a young child, and it goes back to gaming. It goes back to your action figures. It goes back to those imaginative, crazy worlds you'd create by yourself in your backyard or on your living room floor. Gaming's just kind of in our blood.
To go from being a consumer to designing, it was definitely I don't know, I think it was just kind of like we jumped in feet first and tried to figure it out as we were going. A lot of it has been pulling from all the different, you know, mythos and all the different things that, you know, that I've seen in movies and comics and video games and, you know, and pen and paper campaigns and all this other stuff. It just kind of culminates into this huge wealth of knowledge that you can pull from whenever you have a world. It's just, I equated, you know, like hearing what the storyline was and figuring out like what the game should be is just like writing a D&D campaign, or just like, you know, coming up with, you know, things on the fly, things that you want to have, you know, things that you want to make sure that you're featuring.
Started with basically one of the partners, Clovis, he was like, hey, I have this idea for a game. What do you think about it? Like, just kind of spitballing the idea. I was like, yeah, it's cool, but it really reminds me of kind of like a card game. Can I like play with this a little bit and see if I can come up with something that you like, to see if like what works, if it works for you, and you know, see what the other guy who helped create the idea, what he thinks about it too. Probably a month-ish or so, kind of worked on some stuff, and then poked some people down here and started dragging them in and saying, hey guys, like this is what we're doing. This is kind of the card game that we're working on. We've got a really good base. Can you help us do other things, like formulate more story, be more specific? We had to get a lot of cards quickly because we were really trying to be focused on that. And so brought Joe in and Mike in, and we had Clovis and Matt already.
As I heard about like what the story was, or what the tale was that was being told, I was sold. 100% lock, stock, and barrel. I was like, yeah, starting tonight, right? Like, we're ready to go, like right now. The story really lends itself to a lot of possibilities. It really opens itself up to, you know, a lot of different channels. And honestly, like the lore of it makes sense. Like, and it just clicks, and it's local, and it's something that, you know, that resonates with me. The idea of like mobsters and magic, and just go, you think of a Goodfellas movie and then slam some D&D together and go, blah, there you know, that's kind of like a genesis of a lot of those cards that they came out, was, what does this guild do? So what do we do from that, you know, and also getting like story elements and how all of these things tie together.
Nathan approached me about the story side of things. He had talked about the card piece, and I'm certainly familiar with card games, but that's not really my strong point. Once he kind of gave me a bit of an outline, and Clovis gave me an outline of what the story for the game was, it really set my mind reeling, like places we could go with it. And again, you talk about influences and things we see in the culture and pop culture and in actual history, and how can we tie all these things together to make a cohesive story that's different and actually drives gameplay, other than it's not ornamentation. It's not just something that's on the side. What happens in the story world of the game, in the world of the game itself, drives the cards, drives expansions, drives new things, and keeps the players interested in what they're doing. It's not just a game with mechanics. You're actually playing out sometimes scenarios that happened in the history of the game. Sometimes you're playing with characters that have long histories in this world.
Inspiration for the game engine. Mostly it came about from a really big distaste of how games have become. We wanted a game design that was approachable by new people, that they wouldn't feel like, oh, this guy's really good, I have no chance. We wanted something that people could come to and meet there and be good technically, you know, have at least know what they're doing to start with, and then you can grow from there to get more strategic. I think a lot of the conversations Joe and I had about game design really stemmed from, we wanted an approachable game, a game that had more strategy than most games that we played at the time. From the strategy standpoint, I think a lot of modern games tend to, I won't even say dumb down, because there's still just a huge wealth of strategy, but I don't want to say pandering either, but like they almost pander to whatever the current, you know, trend is. And
that's great as like a business model, you know, because then you're always on top of it. You're always staying in front of the curve to make sure that you're making money. But at the same time, it really waters down that experience. I remember Magic the Gathering way back in the day, back when there wasn't a new block every other couple of months, and you had a set of cards, and those set of cards were basically like what you needed to make your experience out of. And we'd stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning playing that game. And I mean, I'm talking groups of my friends from years ago. We would stay up till all hours of the morning playing the game, and I think it's lost that over the course of time. And a lot of these games have become very, money centric. And obviously, like in a business, you have to make money, but at the same time, you also still want to make sure that your customer feels as though that it's worth their time and investment. For us, that was a huge part of it in terms of like game engine and making sure that it's easy and accessible, and that it's also not oversimplified, so that way the people who are starting can still get the base concept, but then the people who have been playing it for years, hopefully years, can still find new innovative ways to tweak and change their game and make it just one step better.
Then we wanted it to be as lore centric as possible with our engine as well. So the story affects how our engine works. Things will change as we go through if the story changes and we go that route, and that's what happens. Things make sense why we do them, hopefully, in the design. So if it makes sense in the story, it makes sense in the card game engine. That's kind of the goal also with that.
A lot of the gameplay mechanics and a lot of the design choices that we've made have been heavily focused on the lore. The lore will dictate rule changes, will dictate revision changes, will dictate expansions, future expansions. Like we're not just picking things out of the sky here. There's not a set roadmap to date, but there are definitely ideas and directions that we want to point the game in, and focusing heavily on the lore really it doesn't really limit us, which is what I kind of anticipated happening. That's actually opened a lot more doors for us. Like,
makes it easier.
Yeah, it really
sometimes,
does.
So out of that interview, I think what was powerful for me is really you can see the passion. I mean, you know some really goofy people. They're fun. They're interesting. They're low touched, but they love what they're doing, man.
And that's the takeaway, man. I mean, if you're going to create something, anything, love it. Love what you're creating. Love what you're putting hours and hours and hours and hours into. The 4 other guys and myself who are creating 5Crests really do love the idea, be it because of the story, be it because of the artwork, be it because of the gameplay. These are the guys themselves are guys, like I said before, who have spent years just being a gamer, just being a consumer. And now to see that they have been able to help build something as a team,
without killing each other, and still maintain a friendship on top of it.
And that's the takeaway is that there's going to be tight times where everybody's a little bit angry at one another, but it's the goal that keeps everybody going. I can't stress this enough how proud I am of the guys and how proud I am of the team as a whole for coming together and building this thing. Again, our bellwether for us is Gen Con, and so we've been working these last 9 months nonstop to make something that when we get to Gen Con actually kicks butt.
There's only one way we're going to find out if that happens.
Yeah.
We got to follow you. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow you guys through this experience. You guys got a chance to see part 1. Part 2 will be coming up soon, and with the final part actually being Gen Con. I think this is going to be an amazing moment. I think it's something that we're interested in. I know they're interested in it. We would wish you luck, but you don't need it. You guys are working hard.
We'll take all the luck we can get. I'll tell you right now.
And we will be there to follow. It's going to be an amazing experience. You guys